Nobody is going to stand at a podium and say the words energy lockdown. That is not how this works. What they will say is temporary demand reduction measures. What they will say is sensible conservation guidance. What they will say is emergency energy management protocols. And by the time enough of those phrases have stacked up, and enough of those small measures have quietly rolled out, your daily life will have changed, and nobody will have officially called it what it is. That is the pattern. That is how restrictions arrive in Britain. Not with a dramatic announcement, with a slow drip of reasonable-sounding steps that each feel small on their own, until one morning you realize your life has been reshaped without anyone asking your permission. Welcome back. If you care about staying ahead of what is actually happening in Britain right now, subscribe. Because this is the kind of content that matters before people start reacting, not after. Now let me be clear about what I am saying and what I am not saying. I'm not saying the government is about to shut off your electricity tomorrow. I'm not saying troops are going to enforce blackout curfews on British streets. That is fantasy, and it is not helpful. What I am saying is that the conversation around energy restriction in this country has moved further and faster than most people realize. And the building blocks for significant lifestyle restrictions are already in place. Not hidden, not secret, published, planned, discussed openly in policy documents and international energy frameworks that most people will never read because the language is deliberately boring enough to make your eyes slide off the page. But boring language does not mean boring consequences. And what sits inside those frameworks should matter to every household in Britain. The International Energy Agency has already outlined a menu of demand reduction measures that governments can deploy when energy markets come under severe pressure. Work from home mandates, lowered speed limits on motorways, restrictions on non-essential travel, reduced heating guidance for public buildings, encouragement to avoid air travel, car-free days in urban areas. None of those sound extreme on their own. Each one sounds reasonable, temporary, sensible. But stack 5 or 6 of them together and your week looks completely different. Your commute changes. Your travel options shrink. Your heating decisions are influenced by guidance you did not ask for. Your freedom of movement gets quietly trimmed at the edges. And all of it happens under the banner of shared responsibility during a temporary energy emergency. Britain's own contingency planning already includes mechanisms for exactly this kind of scenario. The government has a national emergency plan for fuel that gives ministers a structured menu of responses when supply is severely disrupted. Reduce speed limits. Priority fuel access for emergency services. Potential rationing frameworks. These are not conspiracy theories. They are published policy. They exist because serious people in government know that Britain's energy position is more exposed than the public generally understands. And that exposure has gotten worse, not better, over the past few years. Britain's domestic energy production has declined. North Sea output has fallen. Gas storage capacity is embarrassingly low compared to our European neighbors. We closed our largest gas storage facility and have been operating with minimal buffer ever since. That means when global energy prices spike or when supply routes come under pressure, Britain has very little cushion. We buy on the international market at whatever price the market demands, and we feel the pain almost immediately. Right now, the Middle East situation is putting direct pressure on global energy flows. The Strait of Hormuz is under tension, and that strait handles a massive share of the world's oil and gas shipments. Any serious disruption to that route does not just affect countries that buy directly from the region. It affects the entire global price. And Britain lives and dies by that global price, because we do not produce enough of our own energy to insulate ourselves from it. If you are watching this and thinking this is the kind of content more people need to hear, take a second and subscribe. It costs nothing and it means you catch these early. Now here is where this gets practical, and where I want to shift from what is happening to what you should be doing about it. Because understanding the problem is only useful if it leads to action. And the actions that matter most right now are not dramatic. They are boring, quiet, and deeply effective. Get your heating situation sorted before you are told to. If the only way your household stays warm is the central heating boiler running at full capacity all winter, you have a single point of failure. And if energy prices spike further, or if any kind of conservation guidance comes in, that single point of failure becomes a vulnerability. So build layers. Get proper thermal clothing for your household. Base layers, thick socks, fleece, the stuff that keeps people warm without turning the thermostat up. Get a decent sleeping bag per person, rated for genuinely cold temperatures. Get draft excluders on every door and window that leaks. Close off rooms you are not using. Heat the people and the rooms you live in, not the entire house. These are things that save you money right now and protect you later if energy gets more expensive or more restricted. There is no downside to any of it. Get a backup power plan. When people hear energy lockdown, they think about heating, but the more immediate disruption is electrical. Because modern British life runs on electricity in ways most people do not fully appreciate until it stops. Your fridge, your freezer, your phone, your router, your lights, your cooker if it is electric, your information, your communication, your ability to function at all in the evening, all of it depends on electricity. A power bank keeps your phone alive. A portable power station keeps your essentials running. A small solar panel gives you the ability to recharge without the grid. None of these need to be expensive, but they need to exist in your home before you need them. Because buying a power station during a blackout is like buying an umbrella during a flood. The time to sort it is now, while nobody is competing with you for stock and prices are still normal. Reduce your energy dependency wherever you can, not because the government has told you to, because it is smart regardless of what happens. Switch to LED bulbs everywhere. They use a fraction of the power. Get a kettle that boils only what you need. Understand which appliances in your home are quietly draining power on standby. Wash clothes at lower temperatures. Use timers on heating so it is not running when nobody benefits. Every small reduction in your baseline energy consumption gives you more margin. And margin is everything when prices are climbing or when restrictions start quietly tightening what is available to you. Think about cooking without mains power. This is the one that catches most British households completely off guard. If the electricity goes and your hob is electric, how does your family eat a hot meal tonight? If you do not have an answer to that question right now, you need one. A camping stove with spare gas canisters stored safely. A Kelly kettle if you have outside space. Or at minimum, a cold food plan. Meals your household can eat without any cooking at all. Sandwiches, tinned fish, crackers, peanut butter, cereal with long life milk. Not exciting, but fed is fed. And a household that can eat without depending on the grid is a household that does not panic when the grid wobbles. Sort your information and communication resilience. In any kind of energy disruption, the first thing people lose after power is information. The Wi-Fi goes down, the phone battery drains, the TV is off, and suddenly you have no idea what is happening, no way to contact anyone, and no way to receive updates. A battery-powered or hand-crank radio solves the information problem. A charged power bank solves the phone problem. A written list of emergency contacts and important numbers solves the communication problem. None of this is expensive, all of it is essential. And the time to set it up is a calm Tuesday afternoon, not a dark Wednesday evening when the street has gone black and nobody knows why. Have a household plan and make sure everyone knows it. This is the simplest and most powerful thing on this entire list. Sit down with your family for 15 minutes and talk through what happens if the power goes off for 24 hours. Who does what? Where is the torch? Where is the power bank? What do we eat? How do we stay warm? How do we get information? Who do we contact? Write it on a single sheet of paper and put it somewhere everyone knows. That piece of paper is worth more than 100 pounds of gear because it turns chaos into routine. It turns panic into a checklist. And it means that when the moment comes, nobody is standing in a dark hallway asking, "What do we do now?" Here's the thing that ties all of this together, and it is the thing I really want you to sit with. The government does not need to announce an energy lockdown for your life to be affected by one. If prices double, that is a restriction on your energy use, whether anyone calls it that or not. If you cannot afford to heat your home the way you used to, your behavior changes. If conservation guidance pushes you to drive less, travel less, use less, stay home more, your life shrinks. None of it needs a dramatic label. The effect is the same, and the households that handle this best will not be the ones who waited for an official announcement. They will be the ones who read the signs early, made quiet, practical changes, built a buffer of warmth and power and resilience around their family, and stopped depending on everything working perfectly all the time. That is not paranoia. That is just being honest about where things are heading and acting like an adult about it. If nothing gets worse, you have a warmer home, lower bills, backup power you might use camping, and a plan you never need. You lose nothing. If things do get worse, you are the household that stays warm, stays fed, stays informed, and stays calm while everyone else scrambles. That is the whole game. That is what preparation actually looks like. Not bunkers, not fantasy, just a household that works when the system around it wobbles. If you found this useful, subscribe, and comment below what your household's biggest energy weak spot is right now. Heating, cooking, power, information, I want to hear it. Because knowing your weakness is the first step to fixing it.